Long before Earth was shaped, before the light ripped the darkness for the first time, something happened in heaven. A break. It was not visible to human eyes because the human being did not exist yet. But at that very moment, the balance of the universe has changed forever. In the vastness of an eternal kingdom, where harmony reigned absolute, a spark of rebellion was born. Silent, imperceptible, like a shadow that hides behind light. No one suspected that creation, so perfect, also housed the potential for chaos. What started as a whisper soon turned into a crash. The heavens trembled, fire portals opened. Beings made of pure light were divided, an old covenant broke, and then the first war of existence began. But this conflict was not stuck in the past. Since that day, an invisible war has been fought in every corner of the universe. A war for something more precious than gold, more powerful than any weapon, the human soul. Have you realized that certain events in human history seem strangely connected? Epidemics that arise without explanation, kingdoms that collapse in a matter of days, advances and setbacks that challenge logic. And the most intriguing, there are biblical texts, little cited in the pulpits, which seem to describe scenes of this war in rich detail. Flamboyant swords, stars falling from the sky, thrones being removed, and gates that open in two directions. Some say this war has never stopped, that she just changed the field, and that now is being locked here around us every day. But what really caused this war? What was the original mistake that put the sky and hell on a collision route? What's more, why do so many of these passages seem hidden in the sight of everyone? The answer may be in forgotten verses, symbols that only make sense when you look them under a new light, or in events that look small but are part of a large plan. Get ready, the veil is about to fall, and the truth, even forbidden, will come to light. The Bible does not start with chaos. It begins with order, beauty, and an almost silent harmony. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1:1. But what the text does not say explicitly, and that many scholars point to, is that something had happened before the creation of the earth. There is a gap between the first verse of Genesis and those who follow. A temporal breach that carries an old suspicion. Was it in this space that heavenly war began? And then, like a track hidden between the lines, Jeremiah comes up. Chapter 4, verses 23 to 26. I watched the earth, and behold, it was plagued and empty, and the heavens, and had no light. There was no man, and all the birds of heaven had fled. And all the cities were destroyed before the Lord, before the wrath of his wrath. Jeremiah is describing what appears to be a destruction prior to Eden, a scenario of celestial ruins, where spiritual cities have been devastated. But why? According to some interpreters, this would be an echo of a heavenly war, such an intense rebellion that he left scars in heaven and threw shadows over his earth, even before man was formed from dust. Another enigmatic verse arises in Ezekiel. Chapter 28, verse 13, You were in Eden, garden of God, covers of every precious stone, until you found iniquity in you. But who would be in Eden before the human being? This verse, often interpreted as an allusion to pride that preceded the fall, suggests that powerful entities existed before Adam, beings who walked between stones of fire in sacred places until something corrupted them. And there is the scary detail. These entities were not destroyed. They were released here. Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9, reinforces this idea. And it was thrown to earth, the one who deceived the whole world. Now think, why were so powerful beings sent precisely to the same place where humanity would start your journey? Would it be coincidence? Or part of a larger plan? And then, from Eden to Revelation, from Genesis to the end of time, we see a pattern. The invisible conflict never stopped. He only made new forms, disguised as political decisions, ideological battles, silent temptations, and everyday choices. The scriptures are full of evidence, prophets that saw cars of fire coming down from the heavens, kings that driven overnight, and visions of judgments that arise not from the earth, but from above. There are reports of heavenly gates, cosmic courts, sealed books, and from a moment where everything will be revealed. But why are so many of these texts little explored? Why do certain passages seem deliberately ignored? There is something that has intrigued scholars for centuries. If the heavens are perfect, how did the war started there? According to the scriptures, before the man of his first sigh, there was already an organized heavenly order. Powerful beings, endowed with intelligence and free will, occupied positions of authority. Some were messengers, other guardians. There were those who dwelt closest to the glory of the Most High, and others who spread like vigilant eyes on creation. But then, something no one expected happened. One among them, who had brightness, wisdom, and influence, made the choice to rebel. And he didn't get up alone. He convinced a significant part of his fellow men to question the heavenly order itself. The exact reason? The Bible does not reveal in explicit words, but between lines and verses, echoes of pride, envy, and ambition appear. They no longer wanted to serve, they wanted to rule. The prophet Isaiah in chapter 14, verse 13, reveals the arrogance that exploded in the heart of one of them. You said in your heart, I will climb to heaven. Above the stars of God, I will exalt my throne, and will be similar to the Most. This was not a simple thought. It was a silent cry of war that divided the heavens. And here is a detail that few mention. This rebellion was not just an act of disobedience, it was an attempt at heavenly blow. Some scholars claim that the rebels wanted a new government over creation, and for that they had to overthrow the spiritual structure that governed the universe. Revelation chapter 12 verse 7 says, "And there was battle in heaven. They fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels struggled." Note, it was a war. And war involves strategy, resistance, pain, and loss. But here comes a frightening question. Why did God allow this rebellion? If he is almighty, why not extinguish the rebels immediately? Some theologians believe that the existence of war in heaven serves as a testimony of freedom given even to angels, freedom that charges a price. Others go further. They say that the conflict has been allowed for no heavenly or human creature to say one day that God's love is imposed, not chosen. There is also a group of scholars who highlight a curious fact. The Bible speaks of a time when there was silence in heaven for almost half an hour, Revelation 8:1. Is this the moment when the angels, in shock, observed the fall of their former companions, or would it be the foreshadowing of a new war? And here is a point that can shake beliefs. Some of the rebel angels were not imprisoned. They are loose, not in the physical sense, but acting in spiritual dimensions, influencing human decisions, spreading deceit, preparing ground for a kingdom of darkness. Have you ever felt there is an invisible battle around you? Strange thoughts, unexpected attacks, sensations of oppression. Maybe it's not just psychological. Maybe you are in the field of war. But now that you know the scenario of the heavenly battle, you may be wondering, but what does this have to do with me? The answer is direct. All. You live in a world that is not just physical. Behind the choices, thoughts, and even global crises, there is a spiritual influence on constant operation. The war between heaven and hell was not in the past. It is happening now, and every soul on earth is a dispute territory. The Revelation, the most mysterious book in the Bible, is like a prophetic map of the last movements of this war. But, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't just talk about the future, he talks about the now. Note what is written in Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. Woe to those who dwell on the earth and the sea, because the devil came down to you with great wrath, knowing that it is shortly left. And note this, little time. The war has come to earth because the last acts of this conflict have begun. And if the enemy knows he is losing, he becomes more aggressive. This is the explanation for increasing chaos in the world. Wars, hatred, divisions, disasters, all this can be part of a smoke curtain, distractions to take your eyes out of the true battle, the spiritual. And here is the most disturbing. The final battlefield will not be a place. It will be the hearts of the people. The Bible speaks of a moment when the whole world will be called to make a choice, get on the side of the truth, or surrender to lies. And this will not happen with visible trumpets or supernatural armies appearing in the sky, yet. It will happen in small daily decisions. What you see, what you accept, what you ignore, what you defend. Some apocalypse prophecies describe a time when people will live as if nothing is happening, while the signs are already shouting around. Christ himself warned Matthew, chapter 24, verse 37, As it was in Noah's days, so will the coming of the Son of Man will also be. At that time people ate, drank, married, and ignored the signs, until the flood came. Today, rain may not fall from the sky, but collapse may come from within. Now think, have you noticed the signs around you? Have you ever felt that some battles in your life make no logical sense? Internal conflicts, sudden losses, almost irresistible temptations. Maybe it's not just emotional. Perhaps it is spiritual. But there is a promise you need to hear and keep. Romans chapter 8, verse 37. In all these things we are more than winners by the one who loved us. You are not alone. You have not been forgotten on the battlefield. If you feel you are fighting too much, maybe it's because you're too valuable. The war intensifies only where there is something to be conquered, and your soul is an eternal trophy. You have come here. He heard about the invisible war, the conflict between the forces of light and darkness, the signs hidden in the apocalypse, and the battle waged by each soul, including yours. But now I ask you, what if all this is more real than you think? What if the battles you face daily, internal and external, are reflections of a spiritual war that has not yet come to an end? The truth is that the veil between the physical and spiritual world is getting thinner and thinner. The scriptures show that in recent times, spiritual eyes would be open, the secrets would be revealed, and those who were dormant would be shaken by the truth. You may be feeling this now, that cold in the spine, that restlessness in the chest, the feeling that there is something bigger happening. And it's really. But remember, this story is not just about angels, demons, heaven and hell. It's about you, on your choices, about what you believe, and what you do with the knowledge you just received. If the final war is closer than ever, as the Revelation says, chapter 16, verse 15, Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is the one who watches and keeps his garments. The final question is, are you watching, or is it distracted? This video is not just an old story. It is a call to awaken, to reflect, to choose from. So if this message touched you in any way, enjoy this video, not out of vanity, but so that it reaches more people than you, like you, need to wake up to what is happening. Comment below, I'm watching. And let's together form a community of people who understood that the war is real, but the victory is too. And if you want to deepen even more in this universe of hidden biblical revelations, watch now the suggested video here. You will be surprised by what is hidden at one of the most intense moments in the Bible, and understanding how that event connects directly to the end of the time. Because the war between heaven and hell is not fiction, it is spiritual reality, and it has started even before humanity exists.